Yeah, I have many slides, so it depends on what kind of mood. 50, 60 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, we could make it more like 45 minutes. That gives us 15 minutes for questions.
It's difficult. I have reduced and reduced, so I cannot reduce my life. I cannot reduce my life.
Okay. Well, that's okay. Let's go to 55 minutes.
Yeah, I will try my best. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor.
So at the moment, you tell us, Doctor.
Yeah, we are at 8:59. Do you want to start connecting the YouTube and Facebook?
Yeah, actually, we are already connecting at YouTube.
Okay. Great. Give me exactly now. Let's go ahead and start now.
Ok. Bueno, buenos días. Bienvenidos a todos al segundo día de nuestro Congreso Internacional de Neurociencias. En nuestra primera ponencia del día de hoy tenemos el honor y el placer de tener con nosotros al doctor Juha Hernesniemi, quien es profesor y director del Centro Internacional de Neurocirugía Juha Hernesniemi en el Hospital Provisional de Gente de Jena en Shenzhen, China, quien ha realizado más de 16,000 cirugías, de las cuales son 6,000 de aneurismas cerebrales, más de 600 malformaciones arteriovenosas y más de 3,000 tumores cerebrales. Además, ha publicado más de 600 artículos de investigación.
Good evening to everyone. Hello, nice to have you here today with us. It is the second day of our World Congress in cooperation with UNESCO and Walter Dandy Neurosurgical Society. We have the Vice Chairman of the Congress, Dr. Salim Abdulrauf, President of Walter Dandy Neurological Society and Chairman of Abdulrauf Institute, Professor and Chairman of the Department of Neurosurgery in St. Louis University. And now he will tell some words about our presenter today.
Thank you, Hermo. Thank you, Natalia. It is really a true honor to introduce Professor Juha Hernesniemi. He has been, for me personally, a friend and a colleague. We have taught together many times in the past, but he is truly one of the giants in the field of neurosurgery. You know, neurosurgery is such a young specialty that we have giants in our field that are with us, and he is truly one of them. He comes from Finland, and currently he is in China at the International Center for Neurosurgery at the Henan Provincial People's Hospital in Qinghu, China. Professor Hernesniemi has one of the largest experiences of any neurosurgeon in the world in the treatment of brain aneurysms, vascular malformations, and brain tumors. Tons of neurosurgeons have visited him when he was the chairman in Finland to learn from his techniques, and similarly, people are learning from him while he's in China. So it is with great honor that I would like to introduce Professor Juha Hernesniemi to you. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you for your kind words. So I will take my lecture immediately because it is a long one. So I will share the screen.
You can already have the permission. Thank you.
Okay, dear colleagues, so this is my short life here. I studied medical science in Zürich and then became neurosurgeon in 1979. After that, I was working in Eastern Finland and became chairman in Helsinki in 1997 and retired 2015 because of my age, 68. So in the following, I will speak about training in neurosurgery, life in neurosurgery, how I do it, how I did it, how would I do it if I had a second life. So this is Helsinki, cold city, Töölö Hospital where I was working, and this is now China where I have been working now. This is third year I'm working here in China, and I will tell about my life. So this is a sentence from Francis Bacon, many hundreds of years old, but this is very true. So you should describe what you have done, if it will be useful to others. And this was printed in the Dr. Drake's book, which I will tell later. So here we have a collection of controversial stories and advices, but as you know, life is controversial. Long time I was rebelling and I didn't understand that I'm a part of my society, its past and present. We are all a small part of the global world now. World is by far smaller now. In former times, only whales and birds were rulers of the whole world, and nowadays, before and after COVID time, we can travel everywhere. So this is Finland, my country, where I have been working. Finland is a country between East and West. East is Russia, Big Bear, or double-headed eagle. Finland was formerly like a female with two arms and two legs, but the Second World War took the other arm and leg. So, but this is historical painting about the times when Finland was a part of Russia and the double-headed eagle was torturing the Finnish female. So I have been working in two centers in Kuopio, 17 years, Eastern Finland, and in Helsinki. I specialized in Helsinki, and then I was chairman there 97-2050. So we have been between East and West. Eastern influence came from Ludwig Busep, first professor of neurosurgery in the world. He became professor in St. Petersburg 1910 and then continued in his own home country, Estonia, when it became independent. But the main influence came from West, from Herbert Olivecrona, leader of the European school. He was extremely famous during his time, before any that kind of internet. He was extremely famous also by very regular people. He was called next man to King of Sweden. So he became professor of neurosurgery in 1935 and trained many European neurosurgeons, also Finnish neurosurgeon. And this was the first professor of neurosurgery in Finland. There was Arno Snellman. He spent some time by Olivecrona and came back then, and in 30s founded the neurosurgical department in Helsinki. And then came hard times. So in 1920s, there were times of depression all over the world. And you can see this is my family, 1923. This is my father here. And take a look on this family. They are young people, my grandmother and grandfather, but they look like old, like 50 years old. And then came Second World War. My father and two uncles went to 5 years to Second World War against Russia. And then before that time and after that time, there was emigration to USA, Canada, Australia from Finland. So my father told that there were wonderful warm summers, 1937, 39 in Finland. In Finland, we appreciate very much warm summers because it is northern country. But then came cold shower, winter war, 1939. The 2 million Russian army attacked a nation of 3.7 million that time. And the goal of Stalin was that to take over Finland, to divide in two parts and take over Finland. But he was not successful. Bertolt Brecht, a German poet, was that time in Finland as refugee from Nazi Germany, and he wrote the famous sentence, Finnish people are quiet in two languages. This means that we have two languages, Finnish and Swedish, and we are not extremely talkative. This is very famous all over the world. During the World War, my hospital in Helsinki, Töölö Hospital, was taking injured patients from the war, and here's artist Eli Tompuri is entertaining them 1942 during the war. 4,000 injuries, head injuries were treated during that time in neurosurgery in the 5 years of the war. And this is the first Professor Snellman operating on, preparing a child for operation. The famous sentence of him was, "I cannot see light." And you see that the light has been brought, but it doesn't go to the small cap of the craniotomy and small cap when you are doing craniotomy. So he had very many difficulties, and there was extremely high mortality, like all over the world in the neurosurgical operations in 1940s, 50s. This is the second professor, Gunnar Björkesten. He was extremely good surgeon, gentleman. All loved him, and he was very good role model for neurosurgery, and that was adapted by many. So he was good another surgeon. This is one example of his surgeries. Giant middle cerebral artery aneurysm operated on with silk ligature, and they put also one Oliver Krona clip. And this is his beautiful drawings of the operations. 1953 also, anterior communicating aneurysm treated with treats, 2 treats, and you see that there is also temporary clip 1953 in the place. So I was born 1947. This picture is 1950. I was born in a very small village, less than 100 people in western part of Finland, and this is 1950. So me and my brother and my parents. I was grown up in countryside and went to high school in countryside in Ruovesi, and I had hobbies. I collected butterflies, coins, stamps, and there was a GP who has been working 50 years, taking care of all the patients of the village. So I went to him, and we changed our stamps, coins, and when I grew up a little bit more, then he began to tell stories about his life in medicine, and that's why I became medical doctor. I wanted to join faculty in Helsinki, but when I applied, I didn't come inside. So after spending some time in Germany, learning Germany, I went to Zürich to study at the age of 18. This is a small city, 400,000 people, but for me it was a big city. And in this big, small city, country boy became European, even world citizen. So it was extremely important period, my medical study in Zürich. I joined Brain Research Institute of Professor Konrad Ackert for 3 years, and I began to do experimental anatomical work, and I learned to use the microscope. This is Opin 1, 1969. I'm assisted by Professor Etsuro Kawana from Tokyo. He taught me also English, because my English were very few words that time and didn't improve so much. But I learned, because it was very international institute and you met all the world in the Brain Research Institute. So in Zurich, I met my heroes. There's a video, I hope it's running now. They are speaking Schweizerdeutsch. Professor Kreienbühl is speaking Schweizerdeutsch.
We cannot see the video yet, Professor.
You cannot see. I'm
No.
sorry. I'm sorry. In my screen it is running. Let's take it once more. Okay. It's not. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see now. Thank you.
Okay. So this is Professor Kreienbühl speaking Schweizerdeutsch, doing stereotaxic operation, and the assistant Professor Asakir. This is the end of 60s. Come back. Okay. Okay, these were Professor Kreienbühl, who was lecturing of neurosurgery, and Professor Yasakil, whose name you certainly have to know when you are involved in neurosurgery. Working in Brain Research Institute in Zürich, I went to Leningrad at that time. This is Professor Ackert, Professor Kavana, and me to give my first lecture, medical lecture. This is Pavlov Institute leader at that time. This is Pavlov in Leningrad. So this was my first lecture. I had 8 slides, and I was very happy when 3 girls were asking for me autograph after the lecture. I was very proud of that. And this is my first day in neurosurgery in Helsinki, June 1st, 1973. It is like yesterday, hairstyle a little bit different, but you see, it was possible to smoke at time in hospital. No more possible. And in the Helsinki time, 1974, Dr. Davut Tovi from Umeå, he was a friend of Yasakil, made the first microsurgical course. First we trained with rats. I was the anesthetist based on my Zürich experience. I was not very good anesthetist because 3 out of 10 rats died in complications of peritoneal injections, but we had the course and we learned neurosurgery at that time, but the microscope came just next year to our unit. Davut Tovi died in a bicycle accident soon after this course. And then I was working with Dr. Laitinen, a stereotaxic surgeon in Helsinki, world famous, and he had very broad visual fields. So Dr. Serpinenko from Burdenko Institute published his experience on balloon occlusion of aneurysms. Many people were laughing on the article, but Dr. Laitinen not. And he went to Moscow to visit Burdenko Institute and Dr. Serpinenko, and came smiling back after 2 weeks and said, I found out how the balloons are made, because Dr. Serpinenko never told anyone how they are made. It was big secret how they were made. So, but he called Nokia. Nokia was at that time doing rubber shoes, not telephones. And in few weeks, we had balloons to experiment with rabbits, detachable balloons, and there was a small publications also on these experiments. But Dr. Laitinen didn't become chairman in Helsinki, so he had to leave the institute. He left to Norway and then later worked in Sweden a long time until his retirement. So because of these things, I went to microneurosurgery and not endovascular surgery. So I specialized in Helsinki, and when I became specialist in neurosurgery in 1979, and at the end of this year, I noted in 3 months, I operated on 8 patients because I was the youngest of all. So I counted that with this number of cases, I will never become a great neurosurgeon. So I went to Sweden. I went to Eastern Finland in Kuopio to see the new department there, and then finally decided to go to Kuopio, Eastern Finland, because there were only 2 neurosurgeons and a lot of patients to be operated on. When I left Helsinki, my teacher, Professor Henry Trupp, asked me, "Are you coming back?" So I told him, I will come back in 17 years because I counted very quickly in my head that he will be retired that time, and I was successful in that. So in Kuopio, there were a lot of patients, and I operated more than 6,000 patients from skin to skin alone, day and night, and many times. Of course, when I was a young neurosurgeon, they took longer time, and also the methods were not so sophisticated. Even microneurosurgery came there. So, for example, spinal AVMs were at that time operated with long laminectomies. This is 8-level laminectomy in a thoracal spinal dura AV fistula. This was nonsense, of course, we know nowadays, but this was the way to treat that time, and it was extremely cold day. I remember -40, and I had 2 hematomas operated on in the night, and then I had to begin this long procedure. The patient recovered after paraparesis, and later I saw him 20 years later with a lumbar disc prolapse. So I had great teachers in domestic teachers, but also I wanted to learn more. And this is Professor Jasakil in Helsinki. And he was operating in 3 years, 3 summers in Helsinki, 2001, 2002, 2003. And this is a drawing of my first Chinese fellow, Hu Shen, from the life course 2003. You see Professor Jasakil is operating on, Mrs. Diane Jasakil is assisting, and I'm assisting. And then our Finnish nurses are there. And take a look, all of them look Chinese because the Chinese eyes see the things differently. And then I had to learn more. I went to learn to London, Ontario, Canada, and then later with Dr. Drake and Peerless in Miami. So I studied the vertebral basilar aneurysms. This is February 93 with Dr. Drake checking my analysis of his cases. Then I became chairman 97 in Helsinki. When I was beginning my residency in 1973, there were 750 operations. When I became chairman in Helsinki, 1,600, and nowadays there are 3,500 operations a year. There are many causes for this increase. One of them is, of course, extremely good imaging, development of microneurosurgery, treatment methods, and lifetime is now by far higher. So the age limits are all the time going up for neurosurgical procedures. This is my successor in Helsinki, the tall Mika Niemelä, and the smallest scrub nurse doing good work during some operation. So in 18 years, 97, 2050, I had a flow of visitors in Helsinki. It looked usually like that in my operation room. People around the world were coming. more than 3,000 people came to Helsinki, and I had a constant flow of visitors and live course actually all the time, and 84 fellows during the Helsinki time. So this is lunchtime in Helsinki with fellows and visitors, long table, and then we went back to operate on again. So coming from a small country, there are many difficulties, but also many benefits. This is what we wrote in the book, Helsinki Microsurgery, Basics and Tricks, Dr. Lehetska and Aki Laakso. One of them is perfect follow-up. You can follow up all of them until their death nowadays, because we have good mortality statistics since 1952. So we know the reason of death in every person in Finland, and it is possible to follow up the cases years and years. And there is only one center for the catchment area. So Helsinki was taking patients from southern part of Finland, 2 million population around. So beginning in Kuopio, I began to do aneurysm database, and then continued with Dr. Drake and Pieles series on vertebrovascular aneurysms, and in Helsinki we continued also, and these two Finnish databases have more than 18,000 patients with more than 22,000 cerebral aneurysms, and also we made a database on AVMs and dural AV fistulas, and this good databases produced many publications, of course. Also, endovascular surgeons visited Helsinki during my time. This is famous Guglielmi, 30 years now, after the first Guglielmi detachable coils. He liked my surgeries and sent also his sister for aneurysm operation to Helsinki. So we trusted each other and actually became very good friends that time. Since that, this is Ling Feng, famous Beijing neurosurgeon, endovascular surgeon, and this, of course, Professor Jack Moray, who told me after I demonstrated him in the beginning, 2004 or 6, many aneurysm cases, he told me the words, "You may continue." So I have the license to do aneurysm operations. So I made a lot of operations. Actually, I was living in the operation room, and one specialty was that I couldn't travel in the different operation rooms. I had to operate only in one room. I always positioned the patient myself, opened myself, that did the surgery, and then my residents or fellows were closing. This was the practice there. So I made more than 16,000 operations in Finnish time, half of them cerebrovascular, but I operated also a lot of tumors, 1,400 meningiomas, and many other kind of brain tumors. Somehow we could also publish between these intensive operations, so that there are more than 600 publications, and after recent checking, there are many citations, and H index is 75, rather good for practicing neurosurgeon. So to speak about microsurgery, if open microsurgery wants to survive, we have to be good and efficient. We have to be both. And specialties of the Helsinki house were the following: plan, well, clean surgery, and effective surgery. We were doing focused, clean microsurgery, because with clean surgery, you will be fast and efficient, and you have excellent results. Treat the lesion and only the lesion. This is the goal of the surgery. It is old myth that neurosurgery should be endless and tiresome. I could operate in one room 6 aneurysm cases during one day, and 2 of them were basilar bifurcation aneurysms. It was not only me who was doing that, it was the team who was extremely effective and good. And if you are effective, administration loves you, they are supporting you, giving their support. Professor Jasakil, when visiting Helsinki, he was telling me that this is go-go surgery. Professor Almefti was saying good surgery. So I was, of course, very fond of these mentions. Why clean surgery? It saves time and brain. It is cheap. You need only few instruments and water, cottonoids for surgery. Surgery is arts. You are artist, and this is very important. Main part of the surgery goes usually well, but after that you have to be able to develop new ideas or have many different plans. So you are artist. So with Dr. Niemelä, we operated one middle cerebral artery from skin to skin, 25 minutes. I think this cannot be anymore repeated. And here is one patient with 4 aneurysms, one of them is basilar tip. It was 1 hour operation. So it is a lot of talk nowadays that the opening of the head is dangerous. There are many cultures where there are thoughts that to open the head is extremely dangerous, and these thoughts are given further by nurses, doctors, and this is not right. Those who are opening the head in a dangerous way should stop their activities. This is very important. So this is the simple lateral supraorbital flap. It should be large enough for your skills, for your experience, for your instruments, and for the lesions. Because surgery is not sport, because the patient is paying for that. So this is a drawing of my first Chinese fellow, Hu Shen, of the lateral supraorbital approach in a difficult giant aneurysms. And this is the subtemporal approach, which I learned, refined by Dr. Drake and Pieles, and have used in most of my tip aneurysms. Good anesthesia is our secret weapon. One of the important things is never fight with your anesthetist, cooperate with them well. Then you have good results. You avoid a lot of skull-based resection, brain compression, and brain contusions. This is lateral supraorbital flap once more. I learned to do in 80s, 1-layer skin muscle flap without any upper facial nerve branch injury, less atrophy of the temporal muscle, and only 1 burr hole. When doing temporary clipping, I have that kind of thoughts that in 4 minutes, many people run a mile, and in 30 minutes, some Africans, or even faster, run 5,000 meters. So a neurosurgeon can do a lot during the temporary clipping when you plan it well. Professor Jasakil in Helsinki told me that only few people in the world can open Sylvian fissure, and I began to think about that. So I wanted to be one of them, and you should also be. There are many people in the world nowadays. You see beautiful videos all over where Sylvian fissure is beautifully open, and this is very important. If you can open the Sylvian fissure well, then you can do most things in microneurosurgery well. So how to become a good neurosurgeon? I never met a person who wanted to be a bad neurosurgeon, a good neurosurgeon. How to become? Simple advice, train hard. Only training makes a master. You have to eliminate the tremor. and analyze your experience, collect experience, analyze it, and learn from it and from others. Neurosurgery is not different from soccer, ice hockey, skiing, playing an instrument, ballet, painting, learning new language, writing. In all, hard training is needed. And there are different levels of manual skills: basic skills, specialized surgeon, subspecialist, and then international top specialist. I call after that the level black belt, like Professor Hiroto Sesano, Ali Christ, Professor Spätzle. It depends on the repetitions and length of career. This is Spätzle in Helsinki 2009, and this is Kamiyama, Tanikawa operating in Helsinki, one of the best bypass surgeons. So what I tell in West, when I was still able to travel and giving lectures, I was always telling, look at East, look at Japan, China, Korea. There's strong competition, devotion, high number of cases. My good friend Subin has done more than 7,000 bypasses, and he's a young man working in Shanghai. Visit him to learn. So if you think that if you have done 100 cases, you are a specialist, this is not true. You have to do 1,000 cases, then you see all the drawbacks and you can do good surgery. This is very important. Of course, the classical advice about 10,000 hours for training is very accurate. Then you might be at the top, but I think also that 10,000 days in operation room means that you are at your best in neurosurgery. When training neurosurgery, you should find heroes, mentors, and friends. All of them are important. You cannot do alone neurosurgery. These were two of my important persons. This is Dr. Drake and Pieles. When I went with my big luggage first time to London, Ontario, Canada, I didn't find the neurosurgical unit. So one person came to me and asked, can I help you? And it was Dr. Pieles, and he helped me in many ways in my life. And I hear always that the people are complaining about computers. Computers are not running well, they are slow. In Miami, when I was doing the Drake book, my laptop exploded, and then I got this old computer with 2 megabytes memory. I could use SPS in that and save all the data of Dr. Drake Pieles, Dr. Basil Andersons with that. In the nights and weekends at the home, in the working place, I had a good computer, but I could use it. It was so slow that I could cook a coffee when it was counting the patients. And cooperation with Dr. Drake was very nice and many good memories. Dr. Drake was extremely tight person, like those who were born in the times of depression. He sent me this letter to Kuopio, Eastern Finland, where I was finalizing the book, that the pictures have cost already $6,000, and he was terrified with that price. So this was the book he made with Dr. Drake Pieles, and I was very happy to have my name involved. Even actually I wrote the whole book myself, just checked by Dr. Drake and Pieles. So Dr. Drake was a great medical doctor, excellent neurosurgeon, but also a good human being, and this is very important, and seldom that kind of trials. There is a classical painting of a doctor. I always think of my first teacher, GP Einar Palmen of my village, country village. He went around this village and long traveling in the snow, winter time in the sledge or skiing and sitting there in front of the very sick child here. You see, he's sitting and thinking, what can I do? What can I do? And supporting the family. The father is behind there. This is neurosurgery many times. We cannot save always our cases, but we can be present, support the family, and this is very important. You should also learn anatomy, and this is very important. Nowadays, there are many beautiful books of anatomy and videos. You have to read them, and otherwise they are of no use. Reading is a hard and lonely job, and this endless hours, lifelong. Medical study is a lifelong study, and anatomy even more. My teacher in anatomy, Jan Dönder in Zürich, told. And take a look on this picture, classical picture of Chicago 1988. Professor Yasaki here, 63 years old. Professor Drake, 68 years. Like small boys, they are still studying anatomy after thousands of operations. So you should go to laboratory, even the presence of many human cases have been in St. Louis and in Little Rock, and many other places have extremely good laboratories. You should go there and concentrate for the cadaveric studies. This is, and if you can draw, and you should record. This is Hussein, again, my first Chinese fellow, 25 years ago. And if you can record, make own photos, videos for you, collect them, then you can study your own experience. So planning and mental training is extremely important. Planning of the operations, and you should have the image of the task ahead in your brain. That's why I was always positioning the patients myself. So I was thinking during the positioning how the lesion, aneurysm, AV, tumor is in the head, and I had a good picture before opening the head. You cannot try surgery, especially in AVMs. You cannot say, let's try surgery. You have to have a good attitude to win the game, like a tiger, samurai, fighter, whatever, but you have to win the game. These are the problems in training: time, regulations, free time needed, family time needed, general attitude is not so positive when you are not earning a lot of money, and hungry samurais, very much devoted to work, are very seldom. So in Europe, 37 hours working time, this is not enough to become an excellent or good neurosurgeon. You have to do a lot of off-job training, anatomy, reading, manual skills, videos, traveling. This is needed. Which are problems in training? Your personality might not be good for neurosurgery. If you are not social, not coming along with other people, you should not come to neurosurgery. If your attitude is not right, you have to have humble attitude to learn in the beginning, then you are not suitable for neurosurgery. If you lack or ignore all the advices, you are not suitable for neurosurgery. Then you might have lack of mentors, heroes, friends, and by the seniors, there very much protection of own territory. We are like bunch of wolves, biting each other, taking care of our area. You have to think that training is lifelong. You have to learn to use your time. You have to learn from history and surroundings. You have to listen to your teachers, but don't believe everything. Otherwise, you don't make progress. This is Mark Twain. He noted already that time, during his time, there was so much information that you would not know what to do. And nowadays, with the flow of information in internet, you have to have a cool head to give the patients and families knowledge, because a lot of confusing information is available nowadays. How to optimize training? Discuss your problems with your mentor, share your troubles with somebody you trust, work hard, do also unpleasant job, well, assist a lot. You should learn from others, nurses, and cooperate well. And travel, stealing the experience. After COVID time, you should travel. You should not stay in your comfort zone, in your own department. You should go around and see how the solutions are done in different operations room. You should not get seduced by the money, because then you are not getting excellent neurosurgeon. This is Zürich, 1982. First time when I went as young neurosurgeon to see Professor Yasagil to operate on. He was like a miracle, like Usain Bolt or Muhammad Ali, #1. No one at the second place. And then some others. We were discussing his beautiful operations after operation days in restaurant. And one day, Jesus Martinez from Mexico said that one day we will be better. And we didn't believe at that time. Always the young generation is getting better. And this is the progress. And we should support them to get better than we are. So our lifespan in neurosurgery is rather short. This is olive tree in Turkey, 1,300 years. Our span in neurosurgery is 40, 50 years usually. And during this time, we should train our youngsters and become also, before that, finishing excellent neurosurgeons. You should study complications, poor outcomes, and this beautiful sentence of Dr. Drake in the Drake PLS Hernesniemi vertebrovascular aneurysm book. So you should analyze those cases which were lost or badly hurt for a second chance in the operative room. This is extremely important because, and with databases, you can find all your cases. Your memory is short, it's only usually 3 months. So this is Helsinki. Dr. Lehetskas, one of the PhD studies in Helsinki on pericallus artery aneurysms, more than 500 cases in the book, and I presented one pericallus artery aneurysm operation to Dr. Spetzler in the morning of the dissertation. This was the book of Dr. Lehetskas at that time. It was the first clinical book that got the prize as the best PhD of the year in Helsinki. So there's a lot of talking around the neurosurgery, small talk neurosurgery, easy cases, even my mother could do it. It is easy to clip gum aneurysm, but coming back to your own operation room, you are again small and alone, and every case is unique. So in Helsinki, there was a large flow of visitors, more than 3,000 visitors. In Lincos, more than 1,000 observers in Paris. I always say that in operation room, you have to walk the walk, not to talk the talk. This is very important. Nowadays, the life is by far easier. You can, after except this COVID time, there's frequent and easy traveling, a lot of publications, videos. You can study extremely well neurosurgery nowadays. Training is getting better, and you can see the giants, the best neurosurgeons alive operating on. This is good training nowadays. I sent also a young neurosurgeon to learn from masters. There is Professor Hirotoshi Sano with the young neurosurgeons of Helsinki to find out his secrets. He sent also a female agent to find out the secrets. And what we found out, you see 40% by actual eye and 60% by imagination eye, brain eye. And this is important. This is three-dimensional thinking. So it is like Michelangelo. We paint with the brain, not with the hands. So I remember many, especially those with complications, but also good cases, of course, some of the good cases. But terribilities, I remember extremely well, because you are all the time thinking, what could I have done differently? And with the age, they are getting worse. So this is one of the first AVMs. This is number 3 in my series of more than 600 AVMs. I operated in Kuopio, 1982. It was very cold winter day, January, and I could take this giant AVM out, and the patient made good recovery. But I had read my books, trained, traveled, and seen the giants in action, and I had the guts, sisu, to fight. And here is one then later from my series. The giant basilar bifurcation aneurysm, 68 years old lady, tetraparesis, and I make right-sided subtemporal approach. This is the broad base of the aneurysm, putting temporary clip on the basilar artery. Now it is bleeding, and now you have to have a good solution, otherwise the patient will die on the table. So first clip, fenestrated clip on the base of the aneurysm, and then traveling, changing the clips, finally taking the ring clip out, and having 2 long, strong clips on the base, taking care that some base remains, otherwise you occlude the bifurcation. So you see that I'm traveling distally with the clips and then still bleeding. So now I have to have certainly a longer clip. The clip length must be 1.5 times the base of the aneurysm. So then it will take all the base flattened circle. So now, final long clip is taking the far away base, and then it is done. Removing slowly the temporary clip, and this is ICG showing good vessels and perforators free, and checking with Doppler still. And these are postoperative pictures, good occlusion of the aneurysm. So these were some of the highlights, like this old Gerdi, 9 years old, with tetraparesis, coming like from concentration camp, cachectic, with this giant cavernoma in Pons. I went subtemporal, took the cavernoma out, and this is the girl a couple of years later, went to school, and now is a school teacher and with family and children. And this is a hemangiopericytoma, had a biopsy elsewhere with terrible bleeding. She survived and came to operation in Helsinki. I took the tumor out, and here's Chiara after the operation, married and had a child. This is a Croatian student with giant vertebral junction aneurysm, big aneurysm. I operated in Padua, invited by Dr. Scienza and Perra. And this is then I retired. This is the 2015, my portrait, in front of my portrait made by artist Pauno Pohjolainen. And what are the important changes? I came to neurosurgery in 1973, less beds, more operation rooms, operation number extremely much higher, number of nurses higher, neurosurgeons higher, people in administration 25 times more. This is the change all over the world. So many times you have the feeling that how are you working here? You are doing hard job in operation room, and then there are extremely many different people around you controlling what you are doing, how much you are spending money. This is life all over the world. So the administrative work has increased, and this is maybe because of the computers. So I went after retirement, I went to Peru, Trujillo. This is Trujillo life course. Maria and Sarah, my nurses, and Juha is here, my colleague. And after that, we made 1001 videos. And this is Little Rock playing soccer with Ali Christ. Every weekend, usually Ali Christ team was winning. And this is Yaip Sherian, who actually saved my life because he invited me to work in Nepal. I spent there with him and a beautiful family. And this is the team in Nepal. And in Nepal, I became 70 years old. I have a lot of goats around the hospital. We call the street living Goat Street. And this is Shanghai since many years, great bypass surgeon, 7,000 cases done. And he invited me to work in China, and I promised after Nepal, and now I am here. So thanks to him, I'm here writing agreement, life course with masters here, Vincodolens, Subin, Perez from Mexico, and then the Starling Congress with first time 3,000 people. This is Vincodolens, got the second Shaolin medal. Yeah, Professor Asakil the first one, and now this year Professor Konovalov and Guglielmi got the prize. This is our team in my center. Sometimes boring lecture because you don't understand so well Chinese, even you try hard to learn it. And this was COVID time, January, February, 6 weeks behind the sealed door, isolation. So good teamwork. No one can do surgery alone. This is Anna-Lena from Helsinki. Because there's huge pressure from surroundings. So you need extremely supportive team. Don't need any angry eyes gossiping around you. Everybody in operation room has to work for the patient. And this is Chengzhou, our hospital. Ping Chen, good scrub nurse looking at the screen, good anesthesia, safe surgery. So what would I have done differently? I should have spent more time with family. But I would have liked to do many other things. Also, in which order? So the idea of this slide is carpe diem, use your time well. What's next? Some years more inside neurosurgery, world Trump. I have been East and West. I want to make serious effort to improve skills and training young people and learn to write also other things than medical books. So this is what Dante wrote in Italian, and this is in English. You were not made to live like brutes, but to follow virtue and knowledge. And this is very good for neurosurgery. This is very good advice. So thank you. Kiitos. Sei niin.
Thank you, Juha. A beautiful presentation and review of your career in neurosurgery. It is many lessons for the next generation, my generation, and the generation that will come after me here. It was just so exquisite in the lessons you have taught us in this review. So we are indebted to you for the things you've said. We have some questions from some of our colleagues and students, and they're really kind of general questions, but I'd like to ask your opinion about it. One question is, and I think you answered that in many of your during speech. In your opinion, what is the main obstacle that young neurosurgeons have today?
I think nowadays, at least in Europe, so there is 37 hours working time. If you think that you can manage to become a good neurosurgeon inside this working time, you make a big error, because this is not enough. You need double of that time for training, at least double of that time. So if you manage with this time, you have to devote a lot of your free time for neurosurgery. And I think this devotion is, to devote something where you don't get a lot of money, at least initially a lot of money. So this is not so well respected. That kind of hard working is not respected. So yes. I think there are many things. So people want to have free time, traveling, quality time, family time, and so on. So this bites a lot. But I think double of that 37 hours is needed to become extremely good neurosurgeon.
Thank you, Juha. Also, another question that I get asked a lot as I travel around the world about training in neurosurgery. The question is, being trained in different countries, does that affect your acquisition of skills and knowledge? I get asked a lot about people want to come to the United States to train from many countries around the world. And the question is, does training in various different countries affect who you're going to become? What kind of neurosurgeon you become?
I think some years in the beginning you have to have basic training, basic skills to operate on traumas and malignant tumors and so on. So very much doing. Open mind, open ears. To nowadays you can see a lot of from other countries. You are trained by other countries all the time. If you just follow the word in the internet, so you are trained extremely well. In Facebook, you see a lot of cases. In LinkedIn, you see a lot of cases. You have to have open eyes, but then when you travel to different places. I think one of the drawbacks by US neurosurgeons is that they are not going outside of their comfort. They are not going out of USA. That's why I put this slide called Japan, called China, called Korea, because it's something gives me a number of cases in the neurosurgery. In China, very few people speak here English, and the number of applications is low at the moment, but they will, when they learn to do that, they will. So it's very, for example, like Supin has now done 7 hours. It's good to see this organization, how he is doing. How can he do 10 hours a day? So go around the world, see. I'm coming from a small country. The was coming even from smaller countries, from Slovenia. I think it doesn't matter so much now, but you should go and think back.
Thank you, Juha. That we were having some internet connection issues, so we missed some of the points you made, but the general concept you said was well understood. One more question, Juha, is for medical students who are interested in neurosurgery. What do you recommend?
I think you should go during the holidays to work in neurosurgery. If you are interested in neurosurgery, it is not enough. You can dream about neurosurgery, but you have to come and see the reality. And if you can manage 2-3 months inside neurosurgery as during summer times or intern, or you still like it, so then just go for it if you like it. But you should know that this neurosurgery is hard contact sport.
Yes.
Means that you are facing a lot of psychological stress and mental stress and also physical stress. So this is what is, but you will have worries after operations all the time, and worries about the patients and surgeries, and so this is neurosurgical life. So I call it hard contact sport. So it is hitting you many times.
Professor Hernesniemi, thank you for that tremendous lessons you have given us today. Field of neurosurgery is a very young specialty. We stand on the shoulders of giants, and you are one of those giants. My generation stood on your shoulders and the people who came before us, and you have led the way. You have shown us the way. You have improved vascular neurosurgery, and for that we will forever be indebted. My generation also is busy in doing following the same track, and I have a lecture in 7 hours from now where I will discuss some of the contributions my generation is making. And on this conversation, there are the generation that come after us. There are a lot of students on this lecture from around the world, and many students from the dandy clubs from around the world. And they're going to be the generation that follow. And they will do even better. And they will follow in our footsteps, your footsteps, to improve our beloved specialty. So Professor Juha Hernesniemi, it has been an honor and a privilege to have you with us, and we continue to learn from you. I always regret the fact personally, I never had the opportunity to come to Helsinki, and to me that was a loss. But it is great to learn from you and from the larger lessons that you have given us today, and we look forward to having you with us in future forums. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye, bye-bye. Until the world opens. Thank you very much for this. Nice.